All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. This is episode 3. The topic for tonight is a little bit of continuation on what I talked about last week on unconditional love for men, and how we're being treated out here in relationships. So I thought it was just gonna be a one episode topic, but I had a lot of things on my mind and things to come up and things I want to discuss to kind of get off my mind when it comes to this subject. So tonight, this is part 2 of that. Again, I want everyone to like, subscribe, and share my YouTube channel. The email address for all suggestions is cheaper than therapy show at gmail.com, or you can text me at 803-509-3477. Again, cheaper than therapy show at gmail.com is the email address, or you can text me at 803-509-3477. So let's dive straight into this. Last week I talked about, you know, loving the man unconditionally in a relationship and treating him with respect as you want to be treated with. And again, like I said, at no point in time was I was trying to beat on down on women and saying you guys are not doing that. But I talk to a lot of fellas and they go through a lot of things in their relationship. And like I said, at the same time, there are guys that do go through things that, they don't talk to their significant other about. So they're not sure how to express these things, and I'm hoping my words of wisdom will help them express it in a better way going forward. But I have some additional things to talk about because it's not just about um, going through those things and not just talking to your significant other. There are different levels when it comes to unconditional love from both sides. Women expect a certain thing and men expect a certain thing. So, when it comes to unconditional love, one of the things, there's a few bullet points that I wanted to touch base on to get some feedback on, to make some statements on, to see how people think and see how people feel about, these particular bullet points. And please, guys, as I post these videos, this is new for me. So I ask that you like, comment, share. I want feedback so I understand, what people out here are going through and what they're thinking about what I got to say about these particular things. Not saying my opinion is the gospel or 100% accurate, but it's all about learning and growth and respecting other people's opinion, because this is how I learn, this is how I grow, this is how I can develop to be a better person for myself and my significant other and such. So, one of the biggest things one of the bullet points is maturity. So now you can't treat your relationship that you've been in with at my age at the same maturity level as you did when you were 21, 22, or 23, or that 25 range. You still developing mentally, emotionally, physically. You still learning yourself. So you can't treat your relationship with that same mentality that you had at 25. So, you can't approach your marriage with that same mentality as if you were 25. So you don't want to approach that. So now when you're 35, 40, 45, and like I am myself, you don't want to just look at everything through the eyes of your younger self. To look at things as a, been there, done that type scenario when you've been in a relationship for a long time and you're going through things and you and your partner are not getting along. To look at it from a been there, done that standpoint, that's kind of immature way to look at it, because and going into a relationship that you've been in for years, you know, everybody's growing, everybody's changing, mentalities are different, emotions are different, psyches are different, so you can't approach it with that. So when you tell your significant other, when they're trying to let you know how they feel about something and let you know what's important, and for you to make a comment, or some said been there, done that, or I ain't worried about that, or they'll be all right, or you'll be all right. That's a level of immaturity because you know in the beginning when you're in that relationship for a few months, you know, you're feeling each other out, so that's the type of thing that's gonna end that. But when you've been together for more than a decade, that is something that's a little bit more different. You got to be a little more mature on how you process, every situation that you in with your significant other to make sure you guys are at your best level. So when you, like I said, when you my age, treating that level of maturity is kind of crazy to say. It just whatever. Those words whatever is a level of immaturity. You got to be able to communicate and talk to your significant other. You got to be able to let them know how you feeling, what you want. You can't just whatever. I don't want to hear it, or that's immaturity. You got to stand on how you feeling. And I know sometimes you don't always want to talk when you're mad at your significant other or when you guys are not getting along, but communication is key. And if you don't know how to communicate and you're on that level of immaturity where you think, you can handle this like you're a high school student or a college kid or you in your early 20s, handling your long-term relationship like that with that level of mentality is definitely going to guarantee that your relationship will not last long. Like I tell you, I'm taking it from a standpoint where I watched my parents be married for 40 plus years. God rest their souls. And I watched them go through any and everything together. They argued and fight like normal people. But at the same time, they always handled everything with a mature level. It was never whatever, I don't want to talk about it. It was never been there, done that. I don't want to go through that with you. It was never that because they realized they were in it for the long haul. So that's a big thing when you handling everything with the level of maturity because that level of maturity is going to make you work on it. It's going to make you see things differently than you never seen it before because you are your own personality and you coming into it with a level of how you feel about things and how you think certain things should be handled. But you always got to think about the other person on the other end. It's just not about you unless you don't really want to be with that person. It got to be about you. It got to be about them. It got to be about you guys as a collective and a whole and not just, hey, I'm not going to do that. Hey, I don't want to do that. I'm not up for that. I don't want to do that again. You know, then you guaranteeing you're not getting married. You guaranteeing that you're not gonna last for 40 years. And maybe marriage ain't for everybody, but we talking longevity, not just necessarily the the concept of marriage. I'm talking longevity. I know personally myself, I want 40, 50 years. I know I want that. I watch what that's like, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. So that maturity is definitely a big thing when you're talking about loving someone, and you gotta grow with your age. You can't if you're gonna stay in that relationship for a long time. It can't just be you're gonna take that 25-year-old mentality into a relationship that you're still in when you're almost 40. That ain't gonna work. Or if you're 40 plus, that ain't gonna work. Somebody gonna bail out or somebody gonna step out, and a lot of people are gonna be unhappy. So that's not what you want. If you want love and you want it to go the distance, you gotta make it go the distance. You gotta really work at that. That's something that's timeless. You know, so at the end of the day, you gotta really think about that from that level of maturity. So when I'm thinking about, myself and how I used to handle certain situations, when I was younger, my favorite phrase was "you'll get over it." But now at 45, that phrase ain't gonna get me nowhere. It's gonna get me alone by myself, and that's not where I want to be in the latter part of my life. So, you know, maturity is one bullet point that I want everybody to think about and how you handle your relationship going forward with the person that you love. You know, next, and is priorities. That's also something that's with unconditional love. You gotta make your significant other your priority. Now, I'm not saying that you gotta neglect family and friends and your other, responsibility that you may have as a person. But again, I'm talking from a standpoint of somebody that just turned 45 a few months ago. Priorities is a big thing. And if you can't make your significant other your priority at this age, that's a real big problem because you can't neglect them. You just can't. You got to make sure you guys are there for each other, doting on each other, making each other's time valuable, and making sure that you understand that that person wants to be in your life, and if you see that person wants to be in your life, then you should make that them a priority at all times. You know, when it comes to family and friends and other things that's going on, they always could be a distraction for a relationship. But at the same time, you got to make sure those distractions are not at the detriment of your relationship. You got to make sure that that partner that you told you love, that partner that you told you want to be with, that they're important. And right now, that's the big thing that sometimes men, we won't express that that's what we want, or sometimes women won't express that to men, and sometimes that's the simplest thing. We just want to be priority because we make you guys women, our priority. We make sure that we try to do our best to give you everything you want and everything you need. So it's about, priority. So all we ask is to be a little bit of your priority in your life at the same time. So, that's also a part of that unconditional love. That's a whole different bullet point when you're talking about that. So, you don't want someone to feel neglected or feel like their time is not valuable to you. You don't want them to feel like everything they go through is not important to you because you're that other person's, you know, leaning post. You're the scratching post. Y'all need each other in a way that you can never imagine. So when you're telling that person that, hey, I got this stuff going on, I got work going on, I got that going on, but you don't make them a priority, you tell them that everything else is more important. Now that gets you, that might work when you in them new relationships, which I don't even condone that in a new relationship. But when you in something that's deep, when you in something 5+ years, it's important that you make that person a priority. It's important that you put them first. It's important that they be at the top of the totem pole. Now, we're not gonna go as far as talking about being ahead of God or anything like that. Let's keep this on a level of man, woman, not in spirit. Spirituality is very big and important in a relationship, but that's not really what the route I'm trying to take and what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is while you and that man in that relationship or you and that woman in that relationship, make that person the priority in your life, especially if you guys are living together. You're planning on a family. You're planning on making, you know, lifetime decisions, big time purchases, going on trips. Now I know everything don't last forever, but these are some of the keys and some of the tips that could make these things last a lot longer than people will ever want to believe. And like I said, it's just from watching my parents 40+ years. This is all what this is about. It's at the same time I watched it and I know it's possible. Everybody want to go in any ways doing other things, but it's crazy, so that's why I'm saying to you, you know, look at it from that standpoint of uh just making them important to you at all times. So making them a priority, putting them at the totem pole of your life, for sure. Because if you don't, you know, that person's just gonna go and look for some other place, and you don't want that. You don't want, if you love that person, you don't want them to go look in other places. You want them to stay right there with you because you say you love them, and that person says they love you. So priorities are a big thing, and not saying you have to put them over work, not saying you have to put them over family, not saying you have to put them ahead of God. But you need to understand that they have to be a priority in your life. Now, generally, that person, if you're living with them, they should be number two on the list. Like I said again, unless there's kids involved. Now, kids are always one of those, you know, one off. Kids relate or spirituality, God, those are one offs. That's not where really what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say when you and that man, you and that woman, you and that man in that relationship, they should be at that totem pole of everything that's in your home. They should be a high ranking of everything that's in your home. So don't get confused with I'm saying that you got to put a man or a woman above God or a man or woman above your kids because, and I know there's people who do that, but that's not what I'm trying to convey in this message. Just make that person a priority. Make them feel like they're important. Make their wants, their needs, their dreams, their goals, their aspirations, make them important to you so that way you guys can grow them things together. And especially, we as men, we're used to doing our dreams and aspirations, on our own. Not saying women aren't there to help, our significant others aren't there to help, but we're generally achieving those goals, you know, on our own. So, but if you're right there beside me, you riding to die with me and making sure we good, then let's do it together and just show that my goal is a priority, my needs, my wants is a priority, and I'm gonna do the same thing for you. So that's one of those that next bullet point of unconditional love. Because if you're not getting these bullet points of unconditional love, that means you giving somebody is getting your undeserving love. And that's a big thing. You don't want to pump all that undeserved love and energy into somebody that don't deserve it because that could burn you out and that could make it hard if that don't work out and you go on to your next relationship, whatever. It can make it very hard for you to have anything of any kind of significance with that new person. So make sure you pump that love into someone that's deserving, someone that wants it, and someone that appreciates it, and someone that makes you a priority and that you want to make a priority. Because again, family and friends can get in the way very easily, very, very easily. They can get in the way and they can tear everything down that you built for years. So understand that you got to be able to put that person as a priority. And I know I might probably repeat stuff, but I can say it 3 times so you can understand, and overstand. You know, I learned they say if you say 3 times over the same thing 3 times, that's for understanding, understanding, and overstanding. So that's why I'm saying it multiple times so you can understand, put that person as a priority. You can understand to make that person a priority and understand why that person needs to be a priority in your life. So that way you can ask for it when you asking for them to be a priority, when you asking for everything that you want to be on top, in of their totem pole, then you know how to get there and without it being a problem, without you telling this person that they're selfish or they're not understanding or they're not being flexible or not trying to, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not trying to compromise because that's not really it. So, that's the second big bullet point, that I want to say on top of, maturity. So maturity, priority, those are big key bullet points when you're giving out that unconditional love. And next is an appreciation. Do not, I repeat, do not take your significant other for granted. You know, when you take your significant other for granted, you know, that's a big time. So we as men, we don't always give our whole heart on a lot of situations, which that's a fault of our own. But when we do, believe me, it's there. It's the whole heart, and it's love hard, and we don't back off. Now, most people's like, well, men jump from women to women. Generally, sometimes when men jump from women to women, that at some point in time they didn't give some of those women their whole hearts. But when a man gives a woman his whole heart, it takes him a minute to recover because we don't do it, often. And when we do it, it's strong. It's strong like you would never imagine. When you willing to go through a brick wall for that person you gave your heart to as a man, where you willing to nurture and do anything for their needs, their wants, where you make sure you put water on their flowers of making sure they're growing, make sure their ambitions, their goals, their dreams are achieved even before your own. So understand when a man is doing that, understand it's not a game. Now you got his heart. When he put you before everything, understand you got that heart and you got it in the hole. So appreciate that. Don't take that for granted. And men, I know we do take women for granted. We got to do better on ourselves. Our women, you know, do wonderful things for us. But at the same time, this is me speaking back a little bit, because a lot of times men are quiet. We hold this stuff in. We want appreciation. We want maturity. We want priority. On top of the other things that we want that women find to be, you know, stupid or unnecessary, unimportant. But at the same time, when you're in a relationship with somebody, there's no such thing that's unimportant to your significant other. And you may not value it as high, but don't never knock the importance of it to them. It could be very important to them. It could be very significant to them and what they need in this world to go out here and make it. So when you as a woman, don't show your man appreciation and you lose his heart, man, you don't want to know how hard that is to get that back off you ever can, because he's gonna look at you differently, like you fumbled it. Like because men, we don't do it often. So if you fumble it, it's gonna be almost impossible, damn near impossible, for us to give that back because we don't give it often. So these are some of the things I think are keys to longevity and part of that endless love, you know, that unconditional love that men should receive. you know, at the same time, we got to think about those things while we're doing that. So at the end of the day, again, let's talk about the maturity, the appreciation, and the priority. Maturity, appreciation, priority. Those are, again, are parts of unconditional love, because you got to have those things. Also, patience. You got to have patience. That's part of unconditional love. You you can't be impatient and be all over the place with your significant other. You got to give them the same respect and time and love and care that they want. So it's crazy, but patience, and patience comes with understanding that we all have flaws and loving our partner with their flaws. None of us are perfect, and the minute you think your flaws are not as bad as theirs, or your flaws are not as significant, or don't have the same impact on the relationship as theirs, you already dropped the ball, because flaws are flaws. Everybody has it. How you view it, You might view one flaw I have as a big thing. I might view a flaw that you have as a not big thing, and vice versa. So, or you might think a particular flaw you have is not that big, and I might think it's huge, and vice versa. So you got to really think about that when you got to have patience, and you got to have that. That's also where the maturity comes in, and the appreciation, and making that person a priority because you're adjusting. You're adjusting to this thing that's called love and life and relationship and longevity. So if you don't want to adjust to that, then you don't want to be with that person. You need to be straight up and down and let that go, because we all got flaws. So, and that's where the patience come in. And that's part of the maturity. So, these are my nuggets, my tidbits on what it's like to be in a relationship and give unconditional love. Some people don't know. Some people don't understand. Like I said, I watched it through my parents. I watched it in other people. So I'm not comparing my parents' relationship to the world. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that if you look at it and watch these little things, these little clues, and these little jewels that I'm trying to give you could help you achieve 40 years. People don't think of it in that nature. They think you could just go through a relationship and be with a person and do whatever, and just go with the flow. That's great in the beginning. You know, that's always good in the beginning relationship going with the flow. But if you want to survive year 10, year 20, year 30, year 40, you better learn these things because people change and evolve with time. Your mindset grows. Your standards and your points of views on things change. And if you're not willing to have these things, these tools to make those standpoints change and to evolve with that, your relationship is going to falter. Trust and believe. So, again, this is my little bit of picking up on where I was last off with unconditional love. Ladies, understand that men are simple creatures. We need these things, whether they be said or shown. And actions always are going to speak louder than words, no matter how you slice it. But we want these things, and no matter how much we don't sit there and tell you our feelings and emotions, as much as we bottle everything up, we want these things. So at the end of the day, if you want your relationship to last, just give it a shot. See how it works. Everything doesn't have to revolve around you being the woman. And I know you guys are important. Make no mistakes. You are the bearer of our children. You make this world better. You help. I'm not gonna say that you don't, but you can't take that and forget about that other person that you with, because that person is in it with you. So you got to make sure you pay attention to the other side and not just about, well, we're the women, we bear the children, we bear the burden, we bring life into this world. That is great, that is perfect, that is beyond beautiful. But there's men out here, you don't do it alone. So make sure you think about that maturity as you expand into that relationship with your man. Make sure you think about making him a priority, even though he may not ask for it, even though he may not show it, because he's showing you that you're a priority by giving you your wants and needs. Understand, make sure you show him that appreciation, that patience, and knowing that he's not perfect and he's going to have flaws. We all do. So, that's my tidbit on unconditional love and what I think it takes to take it over the top. So I'm gonna cut off on that subject, for this week. I think, if you guys have any comments and want me to continue on it, we could definitely have this conversation a million times over. So I just want to give part two to that, because it was some things that was on my mind when I was bringing that up last week, and I didn't really touch it. So I'm learning a little bit, about how to process all this information while I'm doing these podcasts. So, with that being said, I'm gonna get off that, and I'm gonna give you Roland's real estate tip of the week. And because again, I am a licensed realtor at the same time, so my real estate tip of the week is something I posted on Facebook this week, and it's important. What don't come out in the wash will come out in the rents as a real estate agent. So when you're buying a house, I know we as black people don't want to have our realtors or people in our business because we feel like you're going to use it against us. As a realtor, that's not our goal. Um, Me being in your business, I don't necessarily have to be, but my goal is to help you. So try not to hide anything from me as your real estate agent or anyone else that out there listening that has a real estate. Don't hide anything from them, because what you don't tell us, we can't get in front of. Because believe, when you get to underwriting, that mortgage underwriter is going to find what you try to hid from us because you didn't want us to know, because you felt like we were in your business. Believe me, I've had a deal fall through because someone didn't tell me they ran up a credit card. Someone didn't tell me they refinanced something, and when it came out in the underwriting, the deal fall through. So please, I can help you if you we can help you as realtors if you divulge that information to us in the beginning, because we know what the mortgage loan officers, what their underwriters are looking for. Sometimes they do tell us, sometimes they don't. But for the most part, if a real estate agent has a good relationship with that loan officer, they'll tell you, hey, our underwriters are gonna look for this. Is this what's going on? So don't hide anything. Don't try to, do anything under the table, because if you're buying a house, I can't rip you off. Understand, I cannot. If you're buying, I can't rip you off, because at the end of the day, I don't get paid until you close on the house. So ripping you off is impossible. So trying to hurt your chances of buying a house doesn't do anything but not help me and not help you. So don't think of in terms of, if I give you this information, you give your realtor this information, they're gonna use it against you, or they're gonna spread your business. Think of it as that they know what they need to do. There's laws, there's privacy laws we have to abide by. No real estate agent wants to have a complaint with the LLR. So don't feel like if you tell me something, it's gonna get blasted out there. But you gotta understand to communicate with me, so that way I can talk to the loan officer like, hey, is this gonna be a problem? And then if it's a problem, we can get ahead of it, and you don't lose out on the home that you want, earn this money, etc., etc. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my real estate tip of the day. And I'm coming to the end of the Cheaper Than Therapy podcast, episode 3. You guys have a wonderful evening and enjoy the football. You know, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. We lost. It is what it is. But Philadelphia Eagles, y'all lost too. Ha ha. I watched Tampa Bay lose to Detroit, which I was good. Baltimore, I hope Lamar Jackson gets him a ring. But again, I'm not betting against Patty Mahomes either. So you guys have a wonderful evening. And again, the email for the podcast is cheaperthantherapyshow@gmail.com. The phone number, 803-509-3477. That's for the podcast purposes, for comments, for idea suggestions, for topics. If you want to say anything to me, leave it there. For any real estate questions, 803-306-4004. Or you can email me at rolandinrealestate@gmail.com. I'm still working on this podcast and learning how to do these things. So hopefully once I figure out how to get graphics up and put my links and everything up on the screen, on the video, they'll be there. I'm still drop them in the descriptions. So you guys have a wonderful evening and enjoy life.